Hi there, my name is Steve Gerhardt, and as always, this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video. It is a labor of love for me to do these videos, so I'm glad that you're here to watch them. Thank you very, very much. So this week's going to be a little bit on the short side. I'm just going to talk about food, Japanese cuisine a little bit, in relation to, of course, what's coming up, Thanksgiving. So let's go ahead and start talking about food. Alright, so it's that time of year when America has its favorite food holiday next to Christmas, which is, of course, Thanksgiving. Those of us here in America are gearing up. The grocery stores are packed with food for us to, find our, the weird little ingredients and things to make our wonderful little side dish to take with us to dinner, and with 30 other people sitting around a table feasting and being merry and drinking wine and having the odd uncle talk about weird politics in the corner and just, all that good stuff. Now, in the lead up to Thanksgiving, for those of us who are foodies and actually have a broader category of food that we'd like to try and do things with, it also is a time of year where we kind of look at other things. And so for me, it's I've talked about this before, but watching more videos on yaitais and things like that. And for those of you who don't know, a yaitai is a cart where they serve like 2 or 3 items, usually a ramen or udon or something like that. I just recently came across one where the dude, like, his stall, a lot of this is DIY, do it yourself kind of stuff. So this guy created his stall, obviously it can all be transported, and it's, everything's fitted. Like he went into, like, I don't know if he had a carpenter do it or if he did it himself, but like everything just kind of plugs into it itself, so it's just kind of like almost like a gunpla, if you will, for yaitais. And the wood is very light, so it's a very light atmosphere. And what this guy does is he just serves gourmet coffee and a handful of hot cocktails. I wish I could do that here in Baltimore. That would be so much fun. It's not even really about making money. It's about just doing the thing. And I think it would be just so much fun to be able to for me to have like a just pop up on a corner somewhere in Mount Vernon of Baltimore, and to be like, hey, do you want to be wide awake and have gourmet coffee, and I can make you some mixed cocktails, handful of cocktails, and play a little bit of music and have a good time and talk to people and stuff. It sounds like fun, doesn't it? It's a lot of work, but it sounds like fun. What was interesting about this particular yaitai that I was watching, of course, it had, in terms of his spirits, he had everything from pretty much Suntory, right? The whiskey and all that stuff. And then suddenly I saw a bottle of Bar Hills gin from Vermont. I'm like, somebody who knows his gin. It's a very, for those of you who haven't had it, Bar Hills gin it's a very nice gin. It has honey in it, and they locally source the botanicals and the honey. They have their own honeycombs that they make, their own bees. So it's kind of cool. Anyway, so, but yeah, you think about those kinds of things. You think about things like, bowls of ramen and pho, and if you're going to a Vietnamese restaurant like I did last night, or maybe if you want to go to a hot pot like I did the other night. We had a lot of fun with that hot pot. And so, yeah, so, it's a lot about food. Now, of course, when you're at Thanksgiving, things are kind of, it's a bunch of people together usually, and it's usually family and friends, and you're eating and you're fat and happy by the end of it. And you're probably going to want to do something other than sit around the table and eat the crumbs, right? So you're probably going to want to watch some shows. And, you can always turn on to Crunchyroll or something like that, and you can go to see, was it Food Wars, that one that came out in 2014, I think, and the guy who makes these dishes, and it's kind of like the way they present it is like, you can make it too. Don't know if you can or not, but they're fun to look at. And of course, you have Delicious and Dungeon going on right now. Monster Meat, please pass the Monster Meat, my lady. Fun little shows like that. Let's see here. You can also see some something kind of food adjacent wine. Drops of God is actually, it's not an anime. I don't think it's an anime. It's a manga. I think half of it has been translated into English. It's all about wine, which is kind of cool, especially to me. It's because that's kind of what I do for a living. I'm a purveyor of booze and fine wines. It's kind of what I do. And then of course there's live action stuff that you can find on Netflix. There's Samurai Gourmet Samurai or Samurai Gourmet, which is a fun little one where it's an older gentleman who's retired and then he's decided to go on this mystical food journey. Like he goes around trying new stuff, and as he's trying new things, he's coming up against dilemmas of things going on around him. And he reads samurai novels, so he goes, what would the samurai, the hero samurai that I'm always reading about, what would he do? And it cuts back to this guy, and it was a samurai back in the day, and what does he do, and that kind of stuff. There is, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to look this up now. One that I really like, was it Midnight Cafe? I'm gonna have to actually look it up. But while I'm talking about this, but you can watch other stuff that have, kind of food adjacent stuff, like Laid Back Camp. All the stuff that she makes in at the fire. So they can stop eating ramen all the time, there's Way of the House Husband, where he's trying to figure out, and it's also on Netflix, where he's trying to figure out how to make the family meal for the night, right? But one of my favorite shows, live action shows that concerns food, is called Midnight Diner Tokyo Stories. A lot of this stuff I've already talked about on the channel, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. But if you want to see any of this stuff, I'll put a list at the end of the video and you can check it out. But Midnight Diner Tokyo Stories is about this guy who owns his own little hole-in-the-wall restaurant, and he has a basic menu, but if you bring in food, he makes food for you. And the whole point of it is that these people gather together and they start telling stories. And it's just a neat little show. It's on Netflix. If you ever get a chance to watch it, do. It is based off the manga. Yes, it is a manga, and I think a light novel. I'm not 100% sure. So there's things that you can do once you've stuffed your mouth with good Thanksgiving food, or things to watch, and as the Thanksgiving evening winds down and you're sitting there fat and happy and ready to fall asleep into a food coma. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do. Now, what's interesting about some of this stuff is that you can actually cook some of these things. Now, I've tried that, and there's a YouTube channel. I think it's called Lebo Labs, where the guy will take a dish from an anime and recreate it. There's stuff like that, and then of course there's the always classic and iconic Iron Chef, and I don't mean the Bobby Flay Iron Chef. I mean the Iron Chef, the Japanese Iron Chef. Where the chairman takes the yellow pepper and it's just so over dramatic, but fun show. Interesting history behind it. I have the book from the Food Network. So yeah, this is me just talking a little diatribe about food and Thanksgiving and stuff of that nature, and just rambling on, ramble. So at this point, I'm gonna stop, and so that's gonna be it. Now there will be a video next week, but it's gonna be a short video, just due to the holiday. I'm not gonna have a whole lot of time, just like this week in prepping. My job, I'm a purveyor of booze. I fine wines and stuff. So right now, this is a really busy time of year for me, and it's gonna be really busy through the end of December, obviously. But yeah, so I don't have a whole lot of time. But to that point, the season is almost ending. So, as we all know, we end the season at the end of December, and then I go on hiatus. There's still videos that pop up, just to keep the channel going, to give you something to look at. But the main thrust of the channel is on hiatus. So we're getting to the end. Yes, we're getting to the end of this season, and there will be changes for next season. I'm going to warn you ahead of time. Good changes, I think. So anyway, so a little video next week, and then we'll get back to doing a couple of reviews, and then we're gonna wrap this season up. So, enough of my ramblings. I'm gonna have that list for you here in a moment, and have a happy Thanksgiving. And if you happen to be elsewhere in the world and you celebrate Thanksgiving, tell us here down below, how do you celebrate Thanksgiving when you're not in America? Actually, I'm particularly curious to those who are in Japan, who live there and work there, and are Americans and like to celebrate Thanksgiving. Like, how do you change that up? Very curious about that. So please put it down below. I'd be very, very curious. So yeah, happy Thanksgiving, and oh yeah, if you want to go over to the CyTube, I'm still gonna have the first episodes of various anime that were on the Toonami and Adult Swim blocks. So I'm gonna keep that running through the end of the month, I think. So if you want to watch that, you can watch that as well. And yeah, that's gonna be it. So as always, when you're done eating your food, watch more anime.